I remember the first time I set foot in Rita's Italian Ice, a prestigious restaurant nestled in the heart of our city. It was a dream come true for a struggling college student like me to land a job at such an esteemed place. Rita's had a reputation for its delectable cuisine and a rich history that dated back generations. Little did I know that behind its opulent facade, something sinister lurked. My journey at Rita's began with a sense of excitement. The restaurant was housed in a grand old mansion, its walls adorned with vintage paintings and antique chandeliers that cast eerie, flickering shadows. It exuded an ambience of timeless elegance, and as an employee, I was expected to maintain its mystique. The head chef, a stern man named Marcello, was an imposing figure who seemed to have more secrets than the restaurant's ancient walls. He entrusted me with the task of being the night manager, which meant I had the key to the restaurant after closing hours. That responsibility was both a privilege and a burden. The restaurant had an eerie charm that was impossible to ignore. Every night, after the last customer had left and the doors were locked, I would begin my duties. Alone in the dimly lit dining room, I would polish the silverware, fold the napkins, and set the tables for the next day's service. The silence was broken only by the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the wooden floorboards. As the weeks passed, I started noticing peculiar occurrences. I would hear faint whispers, like hushed conversations in a language I couldn't understand. Sometimes, I'd catch a glimpse of a shadowy figure moving at the edge of my vision, only to find no one there when I turned to look. Marcello dismissed my concerns, attributing them to the building's old age and my overactive imagination. But I couldn't ignore the unease that settled over me each night. It felt as if the restaurant had a life of its own, and it was slowly unraveling. My sleep was restless, haunted by dreams of the past. I saw glimpses of a woman in a flowing white dress, dancing in the moonlight, her laughter echoing through the halls. One particularly chilling night, as I was locking up the restaurant, I heard the distinct sound of a piano being played in the distance. Rita's didn't have a piano. It was a tune I couldn't quite place, melancholic and haunting. My heart pounded as I followed the sound, which led me to a forgotten corner of the building. There, covered in a dusty sheet, stood an old grand piano. I hesitated, but couldn't resist the pull of the music. Slowly, I uncovered the piano and ran my fingers over the keys. They were cold to the touch. As I played, the melody grew louder, filling the room with its mournful notes. I felt as though I were transported to another time, a time when this mansion was alive with laughter and music. Then, abruptly, the music stopped. The room plunged into darkness, and I stumbled backward, my heart racing. It was a moment of sheer terror, and I fled from that forsaken corner, locking it up once more. I couldn't explain what had just happened, and Marcello dismissed it as a figment of my imagination. But the incidents continued. The paintings on the walls seemed to change when I wasn't looking. The eyes of the people in them followed me, their expressions turning sinister. I began to doubt my own sanity. I couldn't discuss it with my coworkers. They would think I was losing my mind. One evening, as I was closing up, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned, expecting to see Marcello, but there was no one there. The footsteps grew louder, coming closer, and I realized they were mismatched, as if belonging to someone with one leg shorter than the other. I backed away, my heart pounding. Just as I reached the door, I felt a hand on my shoulder, icy cold and skeletal. I screamed and stumbled out of the restaurant, my breath ragged. Marcello, who had been waiting outside, rushed to my side. "What happened?" he demanded. I felt someone touched me, I stammered, trembling. Marcello's face darkened. "You shouldn't have meddled with things you don't understand," he muttered cryptically. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. Something malevolent was lurking within Rita's Italian Ice, and I was caught in its web. I knew I had to uncover the truth, no matter how terrifying it might be. The next day, I decided to do some research. I visited the local library and delved into the history of Rita's. It didn't take long to uncover a dark secret that had been buried for generations. The mansion that housed the restaurant had once belonged to the Delacroix family, a wealthy and influential clan with a sordid history. In the late 1800s, a young woman named Isabella Delacroix had fallen in love with a penniless musician. Their love was forbidden, and Isabella's family had locked her away in the mansion, never to be seen again. The musician had disappeared without a trace. I couldn't help but wonder if the haunting events at Rita's were connected to this tragic tale. I needed answers, and I needed them soon. That night, as I entered the restaurant, I felt a heavy presence weighing down on me. I made my way to the dusty corner where the grand piano stood. With trembling fingers, I uncovered it once more and began to play the haunting melody that had filled the room before. As the notes echoed through the mansion, I heard a soft, sorrowful voice singing along. It was a woman's voice, and it sent shivers down my spine. I couldn't see anyone, but the voice drew closer, its mournful melody filling the air. "Isabella," I whispered, "is that you?" The singing stopped, and in the dim light, I saw a flicker of movement. A figure, pale and ethereal, materialized before me. It was Isabella, her eyes filled with a haunting sadness. "You remember me?" she asked, her voice a wistful whisper. I nodded, my heart aching for the lost soul before me. "What happened to you?" Isabella's tale unfolded like a tragic opera. She had been locked away by her family, forced to abandon her love for the musician. She had died alone and heartbroken, her spirit bound to the mansion that had once been her prison. As Isabella spoke, I realized that she was not the malevolent force I had feared. She was a lost soul, trapped in the past, yearning for closure. She told me that she had been trying to communicate with someone for years, to tell her story and find her lost love. I knew what I had to do. With Isabella's guidance, I began to unravel the mysteries of Rita's Italian Ice. I discovered hidden letters and diaries that revealed the truth about her forbidden love and her family's cruelty. And, most importantly, I found a way to reach out to the descendants of the musician she had loved. Together, Isabella and I orchestrated a reunion between her spirit and the spirit of her long-lost love. It was a bittersweet moment, filled with tears and forgiveness. As they embraced for the first time in over a century, the mansion seemed to come alive with joy and warmth. With the spirits of Isabella and her love finally at peace, the haunting occurrences at Rita's Italian Ice ceased. The restaurant's eerie charm remained, but it was no longer tinged with dread. Marcello, who had known the truth all along, nodded in approval. As I stood in the now serene dining room, I realized that I had become part of Rita's history, a guardian of its secrets. The restaurant had given me more than I could have ever imagined: a chance to right a historical wrong and to experience a love story that transcended time. And so, I continued my work at Rita's, but now with a sense of purpose and a newfound respect for the spirits that lingered within its walls. It was a place where history and the present intertwined, where love and tragedy had left their mark, and where the haunting atmosphere had given way to a deeper understanding of the human heart. Rita's Italian Ice was no longer a place of dread. It had become a place of redemption, a tale of love and forgiveness that would live on for generations to come.